Hello, everyone. It's Darlene Corbett, your host of Get Unstuck Now. Right now, I got stuck. You must wonder, or maybe you didn't, where I have been since I promised to do at least 3 a month. Well, as you all know, I had pleurisy, or many of you did, which is, I'm fine. But I went away right before Easter to the warmer climates. Very nice to be in 80, 90 degree weather, just a few days. I came back and I thought I felt a little of my pleurisy again. And then I got the flu. Nothing major, not COVID, just one of those fatiguing bronchial flus. And I happened to be able to be off that week from my practice. So I didn't get a lot done. I did a little bit of writing, a lot of resting, a lot of sleeping. It really knocks you out when you get one of these bronchial flus. Just fixing my speaker. I hope I don't sound muffled. I tested it. I'm on my Blue Yeti, and for some reason, well, we'll see. But that's why I have been absent. And then I recovered right before I went back to my practice last week. I was totally recovered. Then I got sick again. Over the weekend, I thought, oh my God, it was just a mild cold. But I thought, am I getting the flu again? Because I'd given it to my husband and he thought he gave it back to me. I said, no, you did not. I gave it to you. But it wasn't. It was just a cold. I pushed through it and I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't usually get sick. I never get sick. Hardly, should I say. But never say never, right? So let's aim for 3 again, maybe 4 this time. At least 3. So I'm pleased to have you here. For all of you who know what this is about, well, you know what it's about. I don't have to say it again, but I will say it for those of you who are new. I started this because of the mental health issues that accrued for women, especially, but men too, as they get older, wondering what their purpose was after 40, after 50, after 60. I say there's purpose throughout our lifestyle. Purpose and connection are extremely important to keep us healthy, to keep us going, to keep us believing in the possibilities, even at later stages in our lives. So I'm going to talk about 3 things. That brings me to some mental health issues, Naomi Judd. I'll also talk about merit, some interesting facts that came out, which doesn't surprise me. And I'm glad to see that it was published. I don't know how many people will pay heed to it, but I hope more people do. I'm going to also talk about Elon Musk. Finally writing. I can get it all in. I always have a lot to talk about, so we're going to give it a try. I'm going to put on my glasses for a moment. As you know, I'm on just about every single platform: Apple, Amazon, Pandora, iHeart, Deezer, Spotify, Stitcher. I don't even know. I think whatever the rest of them are. But I'm also on YouTube for those of you who want to see me. I'm very expressive. If you can't tell by my voice, I sometimes use my hands. Right now, they're in my lap. Okay, let's start with Naomi Judd, the beautiful, talented Naomi Judd. Sadly, is no longer with us. Her daughters put it very eloquently that she died of the disease of mental illness, should I say. Well, being in the mental health field, I know I would pretty much put my money on it. Maybe it will come out, maybe it won't, but Ms. Judd's life did not end naturally. I'll just say that. And I understand her daughter's probably not putting it out, but she suffered major, major depression. I talked to a close friend of mine and she said maybe it was underlying bipolar. I don't know. It sounds like she did everything to try to help herself. She had electric shock treatment. I'm sure she was medicated. I'm sure she sought therapy. You know, it's interesting. Of all the years I've been in practice, I never saw someone with a depression, non-bipolar, that reached the depths of despair like that without having, except for one person, which I'll get to, except for having some kind of trauma in their life, is something that created such a depth of despair. Years ago, when I had a practice in Leominster, I did see someone that had that kind of depression. At least she alleged to have that. Lovely woman, all of a sudden it would come on her and take her over. She'd come episodically to see me. Thinking back now, I do believe there may have been more to it than met the eye or than she revealed. Not that I think she was withholding, but maybe not putting two and two together. I don't know. And maybe not. Maybe it was one of those just black clouds that unfortunately hit some people. Not enough serotonin, perhaps after menopause. I don't know. And we don't know about Naomi Judd, but she was extremely talented, gifted, and she will be sorely missed. I'm not a country music person. I like some. I like Kenny Rogers' Lady and a couple of Ray Orbison's. I'm not sure he's in the country category, maybe bluesy country. But I'm not a big fan of country music. Doesn't mean it's not wonderful music. It's just not my ear does not necessarily take it in. But it doesn't mean I won't eventually. It doesn't matter. She was loved. She was talented. She and her daughter worked very hard, Winona, to create this brand of the Judd sisters, Judd family, mother, daughter, whatever, however they refer to themselves. But both her daughters really spoke of their mother, and both of them have become very successful, as did their mother. So I hope she's smiling from afar at all those who were taken in by her, enchanted by her music, motivated by her music, because music motivates and inspires. I hope she's in a very good place now, and I'm sure she is. I am a believer that the earthly life is just a part of our journey, and going home to another world is the next part, the next phase. I believe that more and more. Have I had my doubts ever so often? Sure. But the more I read, the more I hear people tell me stories, the more I know certain things just aren't coincidental. There is something beyond us where we go in a different form, in a way that our minds cannot conceptualize. So here's to Naomi Judd. And here's to all the people that suffer from depression. I do hope you're seeking help. This is not going away. We live in a society of abundance, at least in the United States. Yet so many people suffer. So many. All the way from the youth to the older adults. And the youth, if only people can reach them. That's what I say, reach them and let them know. Slow that impulse down. You might reconsider. All we can do is try, right? Speaking of trying, merit. I'm a believer in merit. Is there unfairness around merit? Oh, yes. When I say unfairness around merit, do people get a leg up because they have the resources or the money? Yeah, they do. But it's still up to the individual what they do with it. Some people get, to the head of their class. I've read about I know people actually that went to Ivy League schools, and they say you might get in the door sooner. But it's what you do with it. Not everybody does something with it. But let me talk about the issue of merit, because we are living in a society where identity politics have really dominated these last decade. Started at the end of the decade before. Well, actually, it started before that. It's 2022. I would say it started in the first decade, towards the end of the first decade of the 21st century. I have my theories on why it began, but I'm not going to go there. You can leave it to your imagination what I think, but it has And some people disagree, and I don't really care. I've expressed it to some. It's really a shame in this day and age that we are caught up on what's on the outside and not what's up here and in here and deep within here. So the good news is, for those of us who knew merit made a difference rather than what's on the outside, and also trying to create artificial mechanisms that really have not been effective to improve the lives that people clamor around saying it's not fair. What's the greatest gift is not having the soft bigotry of low expectations for people that have so much talent but are diminished because the only thing that is used is what they look like on the outside. Unacceptable. On Thursday, this past Thursday, April 28th, 2022, in case you're listening later, the Wall Street Journal editorial board posted an editorial about Pew Research Center's findings. And I'm not going to talk a lot about this because I wrote an article on Biz Catalyst called M Matters. Come closer to understand, to learn more about it. I forget my title. I actually did, I'm going to digress here, do meander. Instead of writing melanin, I wrote melatonin for skin color. So I want to thank Biz Catalyst, the team there, especially Dennis Pitoko, for catching it, because it would have gone to print, you'll see, with melatonin instead of melanin. Now, I know those are two different meanings, definitions. They're not synonyms, they're not antonyms, they're not even homonyms, which I believe is like weary and wary. They are very different. This is where 60 is not the new 40. I must have just, my brain wasn't thinking. And I read that over and over, and melatonin looked fine. Oh, well, this was what I was going to say if it was posted. I would have said, you know, we all make mistakes, and so many new words are being created now. I guess I could create my own. No, it would have been a faux pas of the grandest. But if it happened, there's nothing I can do. I mean, all I can do is just try, laugh, get back up, and move on. I'm going to talk more about writing towards the end of this. But anyway, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but just to let you all know that most people, and this cuts across all minority groups in addition to Caucasian, most people believe that merit supersedes race and gender. And you can go read my article that spells this out, or you can go to the Wall Street Journal, April 28th editorial written by the board of these findings. It doesn't work the other way. The best way to success is through merit. Merit doesn't just mean you have to be brilliant. A lot of people are brilliant that are very, very successful. I mean, I'm sure that some of them are, obviously they are, but not everyone. Some of them just are so diligent and so hard working, and they overcome those obstacles that are put in front of them. Assigned, as I wrote in my article, limitations. Doesn't make them limited. Those limitations can be surpassed. And even in the worst of times, people did it. Actually, people did not focus so much on the injustices that we all now claim are occurring now. Do injustices occur? Yes, but not to the degree some people are messaging. They were far worse at one time, and yet people still rose above it. They still rose above it. People can do that. And in fact, I think, again, when people say, oh, it's they have this, they have that, we need to make big accommodations. The low expectations is soft bigotry. It is. It is. I had a lovely person I saw not long ago. They moved away, very successful, very bright in the minority population. When you first meet them, obviously you see they're in the minority population, but then the whole thing disappeared. And this individual said to me, Darlene, I hope I wasn't chosen for my new job because of this. I didn't know what they were talking about. I had it's like the thought didn't even cross my mind. They were so successful, so bright, so talented, so giving. It didn't even cross my mind. And what I said to this individual, well, you know what, then you'll prove differently now, won't you? Because I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't resonate with me. To me, what resonates is hard work and pushing through those obstacles put in front of us. And this person did, and I have no doubt that they will continue being successful. So, merit, may it come back in vogue and be spectacular in its rise. I invite you to read my article. I assume it's coming out soon. Thank you, Biz Catalyst and Dennis Patoko and the team. Okay, Elon Musk. What a titter everybody's in over Twitter. Get over it. Get over it. What's hate speech? Okay, we know there's speech that is extremely derogatory, demeaning, racist, homophobic, whatever you want to call it. It's awful. But where do you draw the line? This is the question I pose to all these people that say, I'm being triggered. That's a microaggression. I can say a microaggression just from hearing that. I'm a white woman. So, okay, so you say something that's in the ism world. Now, I'm going to say this because I can, because I'm white. You call me an old white woman. I think that's kind of insulting. I am older and I am white. But the way people say, oh, you old white woman, or those old white men, they may be old. I'm married to an old white man. My father was an old white man. They're lovely men. I know a lot of men that are. So you want to use those? I don't care. It doesn't bother me. You just don't call me because I'll get back and say, refer to yourself that way. I am older. But the way it's said is derogatory, just like when those other insults are derogatory. But where do you draw the line? How do you define it? Is Jesus Christ in urine being posted in a museum or wherever they put it? Hate? Well, I think so. I think it's desecration, but I just won't go see it. I won't go listening to people. I don't read certain things. And when I do, and I read somebody that insults me, I will rebut. And everyone that knows me in the writing world knows I do that. I try to be diplomatic. I try to do it with finesse. I'm not perfect, but I'm not going to sit there and take it. Oh, no, 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 no. You know? So Elon Musk now is getting attacked. Now, the funny thing is you can't call him a climate denier, all you people who go around shouting that out to people, because that's why he invented the electric car, his electric car. He didn't invent the electric car, but his. And let me tell you something. I once rode in a Tesla. They are just glorious. I happened to be at an event one night and somebody's boyfriend said, we'll give you a ride back. And it is just an amazing vehicle. And to those who can acquire one, bless your heart. I am all for success. I am all for people making a lot of money. God bless you. And, that's the other thing. We'll mix merit in with this. There is a lot of envy and jealousy. I was raised not to be envious. We all get jealous sometimes of certain things, but I really, for the most part, have a lot of flaws, but that's not one of them. I was raised, my parents knew some rich people. Oh, they had a lot of money. And then a big house. That's the way it goes. And if someone is that successful and helps society in some way innovate or helps them financially or whatever, or even inherits, that's the way it goes. I don't care. I've been very fortunate in my life. I'm not perfect. I'm not wealthy, although some would say I lie in the upper middle class echelons of society, which I probably do. I do. I'm not saying probably, we do. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I worked hard and my parents helped me, encouraged me to use the tools I have. I'm not the brightest star in the sky, but I'm curious and I love to learn. I think those help incentivize me to do better as I still remain curious. Sometimes a little too curious. I ask questions, people, Who cares? I do. I'm curious. As I told you that story, if you didn't hear once, I said to my husband, I wonder what worms think about when they're burrowing in the soil. He just looked at me, he goes, "Now, only people on acid do that. I've never done acid, so I don't know." But that's the kind of, I mean, I don't think about worms a whole lot, but one day I was out in, I don't do much gardening when I was out there, but see, I'm meandering and digressing. Okay, so getting back to Elon Musk, bless his heart that he has all that money. He wants the Twitter to be an open forum for everybody. He invites all voices. And again, if you don't like what someone says, just don't listen or go off or debate them. See, this is the other thing I believe. There's two ways to handle that. If you don't like what someone, if you don't like someone or like what they say or like their politics or like their beliefs, you can either ignore them or shun them, unfollow them, or you can debate them. Now, they may not join in the debate if you give them those pesky facts. God bless those facts. Facts are not opinions. I know Marcus Aurelius said that. No, some are, but there are some things that are facts. For example, the sky is blue. You could say it's powder blue, it's sky blue, it's light blue, but it's blue. We can't, now during sunsets, obviously there's colors in the sky, but it's a fact. If it walks like a duck, it's a duck. You can't argue those are facts. A tiger has stripes. No, they don't have spots. That's a leopard or a jaguar. Those are facts. Now you might get an albino. I don't know. Maybe that you get Bengal tigers that have blue eyes and light white. I think their fur is white, but they have stripes. I mean, facts are facts. So if you are on Twitter and you disagree, show the facts if you have them. If you don't like what they're saying, you don't want to see the facts, okay, you don't have to do that either. That's the beauty of living now. And that's the beauty of what Elon Musk wants to allow, which has been halted because there is this belief that you can control speech. And now we have this disinformation and misinformation, new department, which I think is just growing something and making it more obese, as I told you last time. And I guess that's the other thing. How do you define misinformation and disinformation? Because some people that say certain things aren't true end up being true, and vice versa. Vice versa. You know my point. So, Twitter people, if you're going to titter over Twitter, you really need to get over it. Nobody is putting a gun to your head to go on Twitter. I'm not even on Twitter much. Actually, I'm on social media for one reason, to post my articles and to learn. That's what I do. And I don't look at my timelines anymore. I don't look at my timeline on LinkedIn hardly. It pops up sometimes and I just skip over it unless there's a really cool animal on there or a baby doing something cute. I don't know. Other than that, Facebook, even more so. I have had clients say being on Facebook hurts your feelings. And you know what? It hurts mine sometimes. So I thought, I'm not looking. I don't. I go right to my notifications. I go there a lot because I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook, writing groups. If there was another forum, that's where I would be. Take my word for it. Especially now that I'm not in the speaking world, there's no reason for me to have to be on much Facebook, anything. And the groups I'm on are writing groups, and there's not too, my iPad keeps shutting down because I have my music on there, so I need to keep it on. So anyway, my belief is you don't have to read or watch or look, and that's what I don't do. I don't look anymore. Notifications only. And I feel bad because sometimes I miss something important, but you know what? If somebody wants me to see it, they can message me. But speaking of Messenger, the only messages I seem to get are people wanting me to use their services. No thanks. I really find that annoying too. So, but that's my choice. I can either be on there or not. Instagram hardly on there. I need to probably be on there more, but again, once in a blue moon, I go on there. I like a couple things. Instagram seems safe because it's just pictures, but even there, people are I only if I see something from someone that's like some of my things, fine. I want to reciprocate. But honestly, if you want to get my attention, not I've really made a very concerted effort, especially recently. I talked about deleting totally, but in this day and age, in my roles, or should I say my participation in these various groups, I really feel a need to be part of this. It's important. I get certain information that I need, that I would miss, should I say, especially in the Facebook groups, these writing groups I'm in. Not so much LinkedIn. I'm not really on. Am I in any groups on LinkedIn? I don't even know anymore. LinkedIn, I find actually at this point LinkedIn more annoying because they're always, oh, you have a great profile. Oh, I love what you do. Oh, I'd love to help your therapy practice. I'm all set. Thank you. It's amazing. I finally, now I understand. Everyone wants to make a living. I get that. So I ignore the first one. But when they are persistent or email me, I'm like, done. I say, if you can do this for me, and then I don't hear from them. Fine. Don't do it twice. Once is enough. Once is enough. Okay, so that's it. I meandered a bit because social media, all of social media, I feel should be an open forum. But they're private entities. People can do what they want. This disinformation, misinformation, we'll see how that all plays out. I keep thinking of 1984. For anyone who has not read 1984, I hope the schools are still assigning it. We were assigned 1984 and Animal House and Lord of the Flies. There's a lot, Scarlet Letter, so many. I can't think of Human Bondage, some really good ones. I think, of course, The Great Gatsby, one of Hemingway's, Mice and Men, Billy Budd, which I couldn't stand. Herman Melville wrote Moby Dick. My husband, bless his heart, he read Frankenstein. He couldn't get through Moby Dick, and he can read those kinds of. I couldn't stand Billy Budd, but whatever. We had to read it, so I did. I think it was about bullying Billy Budd. Yeah, so maybe that's why. So it wasn't Lord of the Flies. Woof. But it shows you what happens. Lord of the Flies is important because it really is about mob psychology and bullying. But so on the Orwellian books. And there's a lot of Orwellian things going on. So this disinformation makes me think of the Ministry of Truth, which is an Orwell's book. And I don't remember much about the book. I read it in high school. So you're talking 50 years ago, 48 years ago when I read it. Anyway, Twitter, bless Elon Musk's heart. Hopefully it can be open. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever I'm missing, TikTok. I was on there too. I got off. I don't have time. You know, that again was I was promoting my speaking and I'm done. I am a therapist at heart. I'll always be a therapist at heart. And now my heart is expanded to writing. And it has been. But writing is, I really have fallen in love with writing. And it is not easy. So on a final note, I want to talk about writing. I am learning so much writing fiction. Yes, I am in the middle of a writing project. No, it's not going to be done in the spring. I don't know what I was thinking. The writing, the story part, I don't want to say it's the easy part, but it's the easier. Now, there's a lot of people out there. There's no right rules to writing. There are a lot of people that will say, well, everybody agrees. There's no exact rule on how to write fiction. For example, I've heard Stephen King, he just starts writing. No outline, just writes. And then I heard that James Patterson might have pages and pages of outlines. So you call some of these people the pantsers, and the plotters. The pantsers just write off the top of their head. They just write. The plotters outline. Now, I am not in any way in these leagues, but if I had to define myself, I would say I'm more of a pantser, but I have a plotting part to me. Like many things, I'm a mixed bag, but I definitely tend to be more pantser, but there's always an outline in my mind and I write down some thoughts, but I'm not a big outliner. It's just it's not going to be my thing. Again, I think it has its place. And next time I write, I'm going to do more of that because it does lie in my head. And I think it's important to even have a rudimentary kind of outline. But I do feel I'm never going to be one of those that's that in depth. It's just not my style. And, again, if that works for people, fine. It's just like the writing where people say, you should do this and you should do that. People say, some speakers say you should write every word you just said. I feel like I did that in graduate school. We had to do something called process recordings, write everything down that you went on the session. Of course, you couldn't get word to word, but I'm done with that. And you know what? I was an effective enough speaker that it worked the way I did it. So I am at a point in my life where I'm going to choose what works best for me. But I want to talk more about it. So writing. So there's that about writing. The other thing I want to tell people I've learned a lot is about show and tell and how to evoke the senses versus telling. Well, so-and-so felt that way versus tears streamed down her face or her eyes dampened. You see the difference? I'm learning it as I go along. And it's actually, I prefer it because I had an artistic streak as a child. So to me, it's like painting a canvas, only you're doing it with words. I wasn't a painter. I wasn't a great painter, but I was a very good illustrator as a child. Very good. I mean, I'm not saying that I didn't do anything with it, and it withered somewhat because I didn't develop it, but it was spotted by when I was very young. It was innate, really. My father also had the same thing, and I didn't know it. He would illustrate. He was in Catholic school, and back then the nuns were not very nice. Some of them weren't so great when I was there, but he would be illustrating during French or something. He was learning, and they came over and they would take his hand and hit it. Anyway, but I got that from my dad. But I want to read something because I think this is so interesting, whether you want to write as a hobby or to make a living or just write because of love of writing. This is fascinating and it doesn't surprise me. And it happens to me. I read this article about writing and this man, what's his name? Oh, I don't know, but his name is Matthew John. He's a writer and a teacher. He cited the work. He wrote this in this article I'm reading. Quote, quote, Mr. John, citing the work of scholars before him, pioneering linguist Stephen Krashen said, inspiration does not typically precede writing, but rather is the result of writing. And I could not agree more. It was like, thank you for that validation, because whether you're doing it therapeutically to write to help you feel better or creatively, you sit in front of a screen or a pad of paper and you write, and it will inspire you. Those synapses in the brain get going. I really believe, that's why I believe when I sit down and write, I don't want any interruptions. I'm like, it comes to me, it flows because I'm being inspired as I write. It's like the seeds are sowing, right? I always use a garden, and you pour water on it. You're sitting there, you're writing, you're pouring water on it, and then growth comes. And then eventually you pour more water and more growth and more growth. So for those of you who want to write, start writing. You don't have to outline. You may eventually, depending on what you're writing, do a little bit of one, but just start writing. Right? Just freely write. Almost like free association. I had a friend, Ray Tatton, and Ray's great. I haven't talked to him in a while. We were in the same Chamber of Commerce group at, then the pandemic hit. I think I dropped out before that. I can't remember. I don't know. Anyway, he says he was in a group that they just have to write. They write. And I think that's true. Write. Edit later. I'm in the process of editing now. It is a very painful endeavor. It's painful, yet at the same time, it feels good because you're tidying up the product. You're refining it. You've made your creation, and now you're refining it. You're missing, you're looking at the shadowing and adding in those colors that need to be added, those extra touches. That's what editing is. It's so a painful endeavor. Oh, anyway, and then I have to give it over to someone else to edit more, but one thing at a time. But I want to give you a little bit more about writing. This is interesting. Einstein said this, or should I say Einstein's biographer said this. Who's the biographer? See, I said, Toastmasters, if you listen to me, I am not an person, if you recall, but I'm a so and an and person, more of an and. Okay, I can't find the biographer's name. But according to Krashen, the linguist I just told you about, he said, good writing can't be rushed. So Matthew John, returning to him, said, minds as brilliant as Einstein knew that tricky problems such as writing often work themselves out with a little time and distance. According to one biographer, Einstein used to, quote, allow the subconscious to solve particularly tricky problems. I think that's true. Remember, his theory of relativity came from a dream. So Einstein has a lot, I mean, besides his brilliance, he's creative also. And he certainly has the right to exclaim that now, doesn't he? One more thing. Other studies of some of the greatest luminaries of the past century have found similarly that their defining insights typically came when doing completely unrelated work, often a physical, repetitive sort. Again, this is so validating to me because sometimes I'm somewhere else. I'm doing dishes. I'm even listening. I'm in a seminar and ideas come to me. That's why it's so important to write it down immediately. Write your thoughts down. Write a word to be reminded. Because the creative process is there for our taking. We have to pay attention to it. And it can be fleeting. Those thoughts, those moments, those ideas, write them down. Because then it will inspire you to write more. How about that? So whether you want to write therapeutically, creatively, nonfiction, don't be afraid. In the past, when I was young, I let fear really impede me in some things. I'll just say that. More personally, so fearful of being exposed or humiliated. I'm sharing myself. And I grew out of that. Came a little late, better late than never. I've often been late for the party. So I wrote my first book at 60, well, it was published at 61, a little late. But I'm here, except being a therapist. I was very young then. But I did not become more, it wasn't for years of experience that built my confidence. And even took a long time. But I'm not fearful anymore. Well, I still get fearful, but I push through it. I push. I've been doing that for a very long time. Not being afraid of speaking my mind and trying to do it politely, or speaking and writing and taking a risk and a gamble, accepting rejection and just getting back up and moving on. Just like that melatonin melanin I shared with you. If it had been printed, what can I say? And if somebody said, Darlene, somebody probably would, you got that wrong. And I would have said, you're right. I was wrong. What could I say? I make errors, lots of them. I'm very flawed. I'm part of the human race. So on all of us. So remember, everybody, when you want to give up and say it's over, don't let anything or anyone derail you. I'm talking to you boomers. I'm talking to you Gen X's. I'm talking to you Gen Zers, whoever listens. Don't let anything or anyone. A lot of people that want to derail you out there. Don't allow it. Don't let them. Keep going. If they did at one time, it really held you back, get back, get going. It's never too late. As long as your book of life in this life is continued, the chapters are going. Keep writing those chapters until your end comes. All right, everyone. Good to be back. I'll try to be back next week. No promises. I'll give my best. How about that? In the meantime, You're Not Depriving the World of You. My book is behind me. And I'm going to try to encourage those that do to stop through this mechanism, through my writing, through my world of therapy. My clients know. And that's it. All right. Now that my iPad keeps shutting off, I'm going to put it back on. And I'm going to play my lovely music. And I just love my theme. It's mine. I really like it. I don't know how people, somebody said they did. Somebody on SoundCloud said, I really like your music. They didn't say they like my podcast. They like my music. That's okay. They like something of it. Put my glasses on so I can end this.